here to a wonderful and exciting event, possibly a journey of knowledge accompanied with thrilling games and entertainment. An example of perfection, a true inspiration, and a man behind the success of Deshbandhu College. The person who does not need any introduction and known among all of us for his wisdom and his knowledge. Our Honorable Principal Sir, Professor Dr. Rajiv Agrawal. Well, he is not present in today's event due to some problem, but he has sent his good wishes and blessings to all of us. So thank you, sir, for that. Now, moving on, with due respect, I would like to invite Sir Dr. Devanandan Kumar, an excellent teacher and currently the teacher in charge of Department of Chemistry, Deshbandhu College, to address the gathering.
Uh, Thank you, Ms. Anushka. Good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of Department of Chemistry, Deshbandhu College, I welcome all the distinguished faculty members, colleagues, students, and the participants to this Chemical Society Festival Resonance 2021. First of all, I would like to thank our Honorable Principal, Professor Rajiv Agarwal, who is putting his all efforts towards the all-round development of our college and motivating us to organize such events and festivals. With immense pleasure, I welcome today's speaker and chief guest, Professor S.K. Avasthi, Department of Chemistry, Delhi University. He is going to talk on the importance of natural and synthetic chemical compounds in human life. I am hopeful that the talk must be beneficial for all. Dr. Mahesh Chandra will elaborate more on Professor Avasthi's accomplishments and research work. Considering the lively participation and involvement of our undergraduate students in different fields of academics and research, our department is actively involved in organizing various national and international lectures, webinars, festivals, and many more on online mode during the pandemic era of COVID-19. Each year, Chemical Society of our college organizes various events and lectures by eminent speakers in different fields of chemistry relevant to our students and society. In recent years, Chemical Society presents two functions in a year, one inaugural lecture and other festival. I congratulate Chemical Society President Nishank, student coordinators Anushka, Vishal, Dakshina, Shruti, and other students for their immense efforts and active response in organizing this festival resonance. All the distinguished faculty members of Department of Chemistry, Deshbandhu College are actively involved in corporate life of college and in organizing such events, webinars, etc. I must congratulate Dr. Mahesh Chandra, Dr. Namita Gandhi, Dr. Aparna Shekhar, Dr. Silpi Bhatnagar, Dr. Archana Malhotra, Dr. Seema Lal for their continuous efforts and hard work for success of Resonance 2021. I convey my best wishes for the successful completion of this festival. Thank you. Over to Ms. Anushka.
Thank you so much, sir, for an exciting and thought-provoking address. As we all are going to learn something by the end for sure, I request the attendees to write their queries and doubts related to the session in the chat box. Our feedback form will be soon circulated in the chat window. Everyone is requested to please fill it before leaving the meeting room. E-certificates for the session will be issued on that basis only. I believe that science of chemistry alone almost proves the existence of an intelligent creator. And one of such person is among us today, Sir Professor S.K. Avasthi. Now, with due respect and courtesy, I would like to invite the student-friendly and a magnificent teacher, Sir Dr. Mahesh Chandra, Associate Professor, Department of Chemistry and Convener, Resonance, to have a few words with us and kindly introduce the eminent speaker.
Thank you, Ms. Anushka. Good morning to everyone. I welcome today's chief guest and invited Professor S.K. Avasthi and all participants to the Chemical Society Functions Resonance 2021 of our college. I thanks Professor Rajiv Agrawal, Principal Deshbandhu College for encouragement and all supports. Today's chief guest, Honorable Professor Satish K. Awasthi, joined the Department of Chemistry, University of Delhi as reader in 2002 and currently working as a professor. He received his doctorate degree from the University of Allahabad in 1991 under the supervision of Professor Krishna Misra. After completing his doctorate degree, he taught undergraduate classes for a short period. He received DBT Research Associateship in the 1993 and moved to the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. He worked there with the Professor P. Balram at Molecular Biophysics Unit. During his stay at IIC Bangalore, he worked on the de novo design of beta hairpin peptides. While working at Molecular Biophysics Unit, he got an opportunity to work with the Professor Peter E. Nelson, the Penham Institute, Copenhagen, Denmark, in newly emerging promising area, antisense property of peptides, nucleic acid, and published several research articles. In 2001, he moved to the USA and joined Department of Pharmacology, Robert Wood Johnson Medical School, New Jersey. Later, he joined the University of Massachusetts Medical School, Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Pharmacology, Forrester, where he worked on the design and synthesis of small molecules targeted to cyclin-dependent kinase 9 and TET interactions. Dr. Awasthi is the recipient of the several international research fellowship awards, Tokyo Institute of Technology, UNMAR International Fellowship for Young Biomedical Scientists 2010, INSA Exchange Visiting Scientist Award 2010 are main awards. Is the life member of the several scientific organizations in India. His current research interests include design of small molecules, which could be used as antibacterial, antimalarial, antifilarial compound, as well as X-ray analysis of small molecules. He supervised the 25 students to achieve their PhD degree and published more than 85 research papers in index peer-reviewed journals. There are many more achievements of Professor Awasthi. With this, I invite the Professor Awasthi for lecture hour to Honorable Professor Awasthi. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Dr. Mahesh, for a brief introduction of my research career. I also thank Ms. Anusha Sharma for briefing to all audience about this resonance symposium. I thanks Dr. Dev Nandan, teacher in charge, and other members of the team for inviting me to deliver a talk in a very prestigious society, a residence of Deshbandhu College. And the last but not least, I also thanks Dr. Rajiv Kumar Agrawal, Principal Deshbandhu College, for giving me an opportunity to discuss some of the brief results of my research. Since this resonance belongs to undergraduate students, so I will discuss more on the general aspect of the chemistry and very little on the research side, because the research side is more complex. So in order to have a clear-cut understanding amongst all students and should get motivated to adopt the science, I will discuss very, very common and daily use chemistry for the all students which are undergraduate classes. So my title of talk is Importance of Natural and Synthetic Compounds in Daily Human Life. how does these compounds help to prevent different types of disease in the human? How does they are helpful in maintaining the better life of human beings, or also you can say invertebrates. Now this is the, you know, all of you are from the Delhi University, so you know what is the, this is the administrative block where the vice chancellor sits, and why I'm showing this one I'll discuss in the last. So now, so what is the chemistry? Chemistry is a very wide subject. It starts from ABC and in depth with the Z. So, but in general, due to vast variety, a vast diversity, the chemistry can be used in medical technology. It can be used in a biotechnology. It can be also used in non-medical or non-clinical technology. So if you're talking about the medical technology, it can discover different types of a drug to cure different types of disease against
Sorry, sir. We are not able to see your screen. We are just able to see your name. Am I right?
Can you see slide? Can you see slides?
No, sir. I don't.
You are not able to see. Just a minute. Hold on.
Am I right, audience? I mean, are we able to see?
Can you see slides? Can you see slides, please? Hello.
Not now, sir. I mean, it's not visible.
Just a minute. Hold on, because this is. Can you see it now? Hello.
Anji, no, sir. We are not able to see your screen. It's just yeah, it's just showing your name.
Just not. I can see over here, but I just not.
Sure, sir. Yes, sir. Now it's visible.
Now you can see all slides.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can.
Okay. So, okay. Sorry for disturbances. So the title of my talk is Importance of Natural and Synthetic Compounds in a Human Life. How does this chemistry help to improve the life of the human being? So there are several aspects. I will discuss some of the common aspects, common compounds which are very useful and people are using daily for their upliftment or betterment of their life. Now this, you know, this is the picture which is where the Vice Chancellor, Registrar and PBC sits over here, and I will discuss in the last slide why I'm showing this slide. I hope most of the people might be aware of it. What is the reason for showing this slide? Now, if you look at here, you will find chemistry starts from A and end up with the Z. Large number of applications are available in the chemistry, and you can find different types of compounds which are useful in the form of nutrition, in the form of drug, in the form of catalysis. So you can find a large number of chemical applications. And broadly, I have given only three applications over here. That is the medical technology. You can use different types of compound as a drug to cure different types of infections or diseases in a human being. The other one is biotechnology, or in the area of biological science. You can do different types of research using different chemicals for the betterment of human life, and then you can use it non-medical technology, a non-medical approach. By using a different types of compounds, you can have a variety of chemical reaction, like with the help of catalysis. You can have a metal chelation, you can have a biofueling, and or cosmetics. So you will find a large number of chemical diversity with the help of different types of compounds. Now, our lab is working on couple of area. One is very common, that is catalysis and material science. The other one is use of nanoparticles in a application of diversification of different types of small molecules, because the small molecules are evergreen compound. Yesterday it was being used, today we are using it, and tomorrow we'll be using it for different types of clinical drug applications. Now we are also working at the same time, we are also working on the interaction of different types of a small molecule with HSA, that is a human serum albumin, and this is the protein which is commonly used for the interaction of different types of drug before it goes into clinical trial. So we are doing a small synthesis of a small molecule, and then we are looking at in vitro activity. Once some of the compounds are lead compound, then we use to analyze with the help of human serum albumin protein and decide what can be done in the next step. There are major work in our laboratory is design a synthesis of different types of small molecule, particularly tetraoxane, for the anti-malarial activity. So the 50% work is going in my laboratory is based on the design and synthesis of a tetraoxane compound for the anti-malarial activity, and in 50% other work are going in my laboratory that involve catalysis, material science, MOF development, and interaction of molecule with the human serum albumin. Now, if you look at around, there are a couple of diseases which are very common in India and around the world, and one of the disease is tuberculosis. Now, if you look at around here, you will find a very strange figure of tuberculosis in Indian mass population, and WHO reported that India has the highest number of tuberculosis cases in the world, and this is around 2 to 2.5 million cases at the present stage. Now, it has also mentioned that 450,000 people suffered from the multi-drug resistant variety of tuberculosis. It means that the treatment of this type of tuberculosis strains are not easy because of the scarcity of different types of drugs. And now, if you look at around in the worldwide, China, India, and Russia accounting for the highest TB patient in the world. We are not going to discuss more detail in the slides, but what are the reasons for why India has got the highest number of the tuberculosis patients? There could be several regions. I will discuss only one region, and there are two types of strains are in the human. One is a dominant, and one is a suppressive. So most of the at least 50% people have got one strain of a tuberculosis in their body. What could be the reason for it? The reason is bad governance, then huge urban settlements where the people are living cheek by jowl are very close under unhygienic conditions. The conditions are very bad. And this was published long back in Lancet 2010. Uh, why there not many drugs on tuberculosis are coming up? Because the drugs generally comes from the Western countries like Europe and America, and tuberculosis is not common over there. And that's why these countries are not interested in investing a huge amount on the drug development because the drug development is very expensive business. Now the next one is cancer. This is a very shocking figure, but it was published in 2012 in Lancet. But now the condition will be in the last 8 to 9 years, condition must have been destroyed very fast. Now it was reported by Lancet that the cancer deaths are 556,400 in 2010, and these are the government figures. The real figures will be much more than reported by the government. Now, more shocking over here is 395,400, that is approximately 71% of the total that occurs in the age of 30 to 69, that is the most productive age in a human being. Now, further, the more shocking figures are at 30 to 69 years, the three most common fatal cancers are oral cancer, that is approximately 22.9%, stomach 12.6%, lung 11.4% in men, and the other side, that is cervical 17.1%, stomach 14.1%, and breast cancer 10.2% in women. So you now can see that almost the cancers are common both in male and women. Only there is a slight variation in the figure. Most shocking figure are from the next sentence, that the tobacco-related cancer represented 40% in male and 18.3% in the female. That is approximately 60% of the total death caused by the cancers are related to the tobacco related cancer. So now you can see here the tobacco is how the tobacco is harmful for the human being. Now there is a very common this is plant which is well known in Ayurveda, that is ashwagandha. It is also botanical name is Withania somnifera. Now this is widely discussed in Ayurveda. It is known as a Madhya Rasayana, a herb that supports the longevity of the human life and maintain healthy mind and mental stability if you are saving the ashwagandha. So this is well documented in the Ayurveda. Now ashwagandha has also very strong property that protects the neurons in the brain. It means if there is a neurons are uh, got some injury, you can regenerate using the ashwagandha. So ashwagandha has got multiple properties and it is well known Ayurveda. It also improves memory. It increases spatial and virtual memory, decreases oxidative brain stress, and helps to prevent nerve cell degeneration. Now, if you are a biological student, you know if there is injury with the nerve in the brain or any part of the body, then this recovery is very, very slow. So in this sense, the ashwagandha is very, very important for the nerve regeneration. It is also useful for the treatment of Alzheimer's, Parkinson, and Huntington and other neurodegenerative diseases at any stage of disease. It means it can help to protect different types of diseases at any stage of. So if it is early stage, you can use ashwagandha. If it is a later stage, you can also use ashwagandha. Or if it is middle stage, you can also use ashwagandha. But one can ask the next question: what are the chemical compounds? Because if it is protecting nerve, it means there are some chemicals which are supporting or which are helping. Now in Ayurveda, Ayurveda works on the synergetic effect of all compounds, not the individual compounds. It means suppose if there are 10 compounds in a plant, all 10 compounds combine together and give rise a synergetic effect, and that has effect on the human life. It may have to cure fever, it may have a protect nerve or other. So here there are several compounds in the Withania somifera, or you can also call as ashwagandha, and I'm giving it only here two of the compounds which are alkaloid. One is betaferrin A, and others are bithanolides, that is R1, R2, and R3 vary with the different types of substituent. And in addition to these two compounds, there are some other compounds are also present in Withania somifera plant, and these people are using as extract of the plant for the different ailments. So here is the synergetic effect of all these compounds, they are chemical compounds present in the Withania somifera. Now, and you can see here another drug which was also isolated from the plant source, that is quinine, and it is a well-known anti-malarial drug. It was, in fact, it was the first anti-malaria drug which cured the malaria infection. That was a long back. And this was isolated from the cinchona bark. On the right side, you can look at here the chemical structure of the quinine. So quinine was isolated from the bark of the cinchona tree. Now look at here. Now that people have synthesized, and it is still being used for the treatment of for the malaria infection. And it was first isolated in 1820 from the bark of cinchona tree, and it has been used for the malaria as well as babesiosis for the diseases. Now, another drug you might have encountered very frequently. Suppose if you got headache, you use aspirin, but aspirin is more commonly used by the heart patient to dilute or to thin to make thinner blood for the circulation. And this was synthesized long back. That was in 1853 by a French chemist, that Charles Frederick synthesized this molecule by treating the simple sodium salicylate with acetyl chloride to produce acetyl salicylic acid for the first time. Now, I don't know whether you people are guiding these synthesizing this compound in the laboratory, but I synthesized this compound when I was a MSc student for the using this two ingredients. Now, this was also isolated from the willow tree, and this has several health effects, and it has been used since date 2,400 years. So you can look at it over here. This willow tree was known for an ancient time for the treatment of fever, people are using decoction of water decoction of willow tree leaves for the pain, relief of pain, fever, and inflammation. Now, it was also used for Kawasaki pericarditis and rheumatic fever. Aspirin is one of the most widely used drugs. It is produced approximately 40,000 tons, that is in between 50 to 100 billion pills every year. So you can see here the importance of aspirin. Now see it is being frequently used in fever, in inflammation, pain, as well also by the heart patient. So now you look at over here, you will find these are the small molecule, but they have a significant effect on the improvement of daily life of human being. Now I will move on a very well-known compound, that is turmeric powder, and every house uses this turmeric powder as a spice, and in Ayurveda it is used as a traditional medicine. Now the name of scientific name is curcuma longa. It has got several properties. If you look at the literature, you will find more than 20 types of medicinal properties are reported against the turmeric. Now you look at over here, some of them I have listed over here. That is, it is useful in inflammation. It protects from the free radical. The free radicals are harmful to the human being. So it acts as a scavenger to kill the free radical. It also protects hearts, different types of heart ailment, different types of heart disease. It prevents the different types of cancer. It also helps to remove osteoarthritis. It, it is also useful in delaying or preventing the Alzheimer's disease, rheumatoid arthritis.
Sir, voice is not audible. Avasthi sir. सर की वॉइस आ रही है?
नहीं सर, नहीं आ रही सर की वॉइस।
सर नहीं आ रही है सर, हाँ सर नहीं आ रही है आपकी आवाज ना। हाँ हाँ सर।
Ashwini, you are Dr. Ashwini, you are co-host now.
Just due to net problem, just wait for few minutes. अर्चना,
Yes, sir.
ये
Yes, sir.
डॉक्टर साहब मोबाइल से कनेक्ट हो रहे हैं, उनको ये इन कराइए.
सर को co-host है, सर स्क्रीन शेयर कर सकते हैं सर.
अर्चना स्क्रीन अश्विनी शेयर करेगा, डॉक्टर साहब बोलेंगे. डॉक्टर साहब मोबाइल से इन हो रहे हैं, तो आप उनको इन कराइए. अर्चना, डॉक्टर साहब के फोन में आ रहा है कि अलाउ करो कुछ इस तरह से. अब भी सर खोल. डॉक्टर अर्चना.
Just a moment, sir. I am asking to one.
अच्छा अच्छा, ठीक सर. जस्ट अभी कर रही है ये.
सर किस नाम से है सर का?
सेम होगा, प्रोफेसर एस के अवस्थी.
नाम से तो सर.
मीटिंग रूम में कोई आ रहा है पार्टिसिपेंट, उसका आपको विजिबल है?
हाँ जी सर, नजर आ रहा है.
उन्हें एंटर करवा. हाँ, आ गए ना सर?
आ गए सर, आ गए अर्चना.
हाँ जी सर.
सर कंटिन्यू कीजिए। सर आवाज नहीं आ रही है आपकी। अर्चना सर को को होस्ट बनाइए।
बोल नहीं पा रहे हैं ना।
सर बोल नहीं पा रहे हैं।
You can unmute. Sir, you are a co-host. Satish sir, please
Uh,
unmute.
अवस्थित सर को को होस्ट बनाइए ना, तो उनकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है।
मोबाइल से ज्वाइन किया जाए।
मोबाइल से उन्होंने ज्वाइन
अब
किया।
हो गया।
Co-host है
ठीक है।
हाँ,
Now,
ठीक है सर, कंटिन्यू कीजिए।
now can you see my slides?
Yes, sir. We can see your slides, sir.
Okay, okay. So, sorry for disturbance, but this is the government net, office net. So, you know, things are not working properly over here for last couple of months. So, okay, so I was talking about curcumin, and now this is widely used. This is a constituent of major constituent of turmeric powder. And if you look at this structure of the curcumin, that it is just into ketoenol form of curcumin. That is the two benzene rings, benzene A ring and benzene B ring, along with the alpha beta unsaturated ketone. That is the, so two ketonic groups are there, then double bonds are there, and then ring A and ring B are there. And this compound, that is the turmeric powder, is frequently cosmetics ingredient and food flavoring as well as a food preservative. So this has got a different types of medicinal as well as potential application. But now you can look at here. Now the market, there are large number of capsules are available as a food supplement in the form of in the form of food. Different types of candies are also available, which contains curcumin powder, that is turmeric powder, and they use to deinfect throats in all human beings. Now the next one is antibiotic. Now you everybody, I'm sure the older generation people are aware of penicillin. When I was a kid, and people are using penicillin for the eye infection or for the other type of bacterial or fungal infection. And the penicillin was discovered by Alexander Fleming in 1982, and for this discovery he got a Nobel Prize in 1945. Now if you look at over here right side, that this is the chemical structure of a penicillin, and the R, that is the left side, the top R is written, the R is variable, So depending upon the R, the penicillin can be modified, can be classified into penicillin G, penicillin V, and other penicillin. And this penicillin is a group of antibiotics. This was originally isolated from Penicillium notatum mold. So it was isolated. There is a very good history. How does it happen? And then we are not going to discuss more in detail. And the penicillin was isolated from a Penicillium notatum mold. And the penicillin antibiotics are among the first medication to be effective against a wide range of bacteria that is caused by the Staphylococcus and Streptococcus. And still, some places penicillin is useful, but by and large, it is now drug resistant. So it means you need to generate a new class of antibiotics, and most of the antibiotics are presently drug resistant. So if you look at in the market, or if you look at the drug people are using in the combination of A plus B or A drug and in combination with the B drug. I'll discuss in the next slide. So penicillin is a group of antibiotics that includes penicillin G, as I told you in the beginning, penicillin V, and then procaine, penicillin, and other penicillin. So if you look at this first penicillin, penicillin G, it is given only by intravenous use. Now, if it is penicillin B, it can be taken as orally, and penicillin, procaine penicillin, it can be given by intramuscular use. So different types of penicillin are there, but if you look at the structure of all three penicillin, the basic scaffold is same. Only the variation is at the R site. Now, this another drug is that is also isolated, very important drug, that is insulin. Now, you will hardly find any house nowadays which does not have a diabetic patient, particularly older people, and this is because of the daily sedentary lifestyle. This is also because of the stress by either from the workplace, either from the society place, either from the other source. So most of the younger generation people are encountered with the diabetic problem. Now the insulin is peptide based protein. This is the 51 amino acid produced by the beta cells of the pancreatic islet. It is responsible for the metabolism of a carbohydrate, fat, and protein by promoting the absorption of glucose from the blood and transport into the liver, fat, skeletal muscle cell. It is very important hormone produced by the body. If the hormone is not produced by body, it will disturb the overall metabolic process, and that creates the diabetic symptoms in the human body. And the structure of insulin, it has got two polypeptide chain A and chain B. Chain A is a 21 amino acid and chain B is a 31 amino acid. Both combined to give rise 51 amino acid small protein. And two chains are interconnected with the help of 16 disulfide bonds. So it has got the 3 disulfide bonds. 2 disulfide bonds are inter, and 1 disulfide bond is intra disulfide bond. It means the intra means within the same chain, and inter means it is between the two chains or two strands. Now one can ask the question, what is the importance of disulfide bond formation over here? or why these chains are interconnected. In general, the small proteins are not stable, and this is very small protein, that is the 51 amino acid. So in order to have a stable structure, that is the quaternary structure, the protein must be stabilized. So in order to achieve the stability of the protein, the nature has evolved a self mechanism by forming a disulfide bond. Now this disulfide bond stabilizes the protein and give enzymatic character, yeah, enzymatic capability. So if the so now if you look at the literature, you will find there are different types of proteins are there. Okay? Now each protein has got a different structures, and the proteins are made up of different kinds of 20 different amino acids. Now these amino acids are linked through peptide bond, that is a CONH. Now, if these peptide bonds are formed, then there are two possibilities. If you look at the literature, you will find the amino acids are written from the left to right, that is from N terminus to C terminus. Now, if you see the protein structure, there are four types of structures are there. That is the primary structure, the secondary structure, tertiary structure, and quaternary structure. Now, the quaternary structure is a fully functional protein and responsible for all types of biological properties. So, these disulfide bond helps to stabilize and give rise a quaternary structure in fully functional form of the protein. So this is the stability. This is the reason why these proteins combine together and give rise a quaternary structure by stabilizing through hydrogen bond. And now people, you look at here now. There are two types of diabetics are there: type 1 and type 2. In type 2, the people takes the insulin injection, and type 1 by taking a proper medicine it can be cured. But both diabetics are chronic disease, and it affects the all parts of the body because it involves the regulation of the blood sugar or glucose in the body. Glucose is a fuel because it gives rise energy to the body that feeds every cell, but to enter into cell, it requires insulin. It means the insulin is the major role in transporting the glucose from the body to the cell in order to perform a different function. The people with the type 1 diabetic do not produce insulin. People with the type 2 diabetic do not respond to the insulin. At the later stage of the life, disease in the life, often do not make enough insulin, and this is the reason people take the insulin injection from the outside. Both type of diabetics are very chronic, and it persists for a longer period of time, then may cause it may cause the failure of renal, loss of eyesight, and other complications in the humans. Now there are different types of symptoms are there, either type 1 or type 2. Some of them are listed over here. That is, if you go to very frequently urine, it may have a repercussion of diabetic, feeling very thirsty and need to drink a lot of water, feeling all the time very hungry, fatigue, having sometimes blurred vision, and having a cut or sore that does not heal properly or takes more time. Now So currently there is one drug which are very common to treat type 1 is metformin. So people are taking this metformin during the meal in order to secrete insulin in the body. So, but longer period of time, if you use the metformin, you end up with the failure of kidney. So that's all you, irrespective of the any drug, whether you are taking a drug uh, for the headache or pain or for cancer or diabetic or tuberculosis, all drugs have got the side effect. Yeah. And because these all drugs have to excrete through the urine, it means the kidney has to work all the time. So this excessive use of any drug may lead to failure of a kidney in a human being. Now, so this is another chemical compound which are being frequently used to treat diabetic in human beings. Now, I'll give the side effect of drug, that is thalidomide, and it was developed in 1950 for the treatment of cough, cold, nausea in a pregnant woman, and this drug was developed by a German company named as a Chemie Grunthal, that was in the West Germany, and this was used initially as a sedative or tranquilizer, but later on it was also used for the treating cold, flu, nausea, morning sickness in a pregnant woman. In olden days, that was in 1950s and 60s, the drugs were not extensively studied for their toxicity. They had got very limited parameters. So if the drug clears one or two parameters, they were allowed to use against bad disease. But same thing happened with this thalidomide. In around 60s, it was came into the knowledge that this treatment of this drug resulted a defect in several newborn babies. Therefore, it was banned at that time, but it was also uh, uh, useful for the treatment of leprosy and later on multiple myeloma, that is different kind of cancer. But use of this drug, that was in between 50s and 60s, it resulted delivery of more than 10,000 people in Western countries as well as in rest of the world, and they suffer from different types of problem. That is a phocomelia, a congenital deformity where hands and feet are bound to the child's trunk, absent or grossly underdeveloped, disfigurement of the ear, ocular abnormalities, facial paralysis, internal organ damage, congenital heart disease. So these are the different types of abnormalities were noticed in the babies in which the mothers were using thalidomide drugs. In some cases, that teratogenic effects were also observed, and teratogenic means these are the substances which may produce physical or functional defects in the human embryo or fetus after the pregnant woman is exposed to the substance. So you can see there are full of literature is available why this drug was banned, what was the reason, what are the side effects, and subsequently, after this tragedy, this is famous in the history of science as a tragic period. The scientists relook the toxicity of the drugs, and presently the very extensive approaches and methods are involved for the determination of toxicity before the drug comes to the market. And after that, it is started clinical 1, clinical 2, clinical 3, and clinical 4, and so on. Now it comes on, I'll discuss one or two drugs on antibacterial agents. Now, what are the antibacterial agents? It means the agents are compounds which kills bacteria or which restrict the growth of the bacteria. They are known as antibacterial agents. And the term antibiotic was coined by Salman Waxman in 1942. The advantage with the antibacterial is they only affect the growth or kills the bacterial cell and does not affect the animal cell. And this is largely because the bacterial cell and animal cell have a different structure, and this is the reason the pathways are different. So now, if you look at your cell, this is the simple bacterial cell, and the target of the different types of drug. We are not going to explain each one in a detail, but now look at over here. There are some drugs which target the cell wall, and there are some drugs which target the enzymes, and there are some drugs which targets to ribosome or nuclear protein. One of the most important drugs are quinolone-based drugs or aminopterin-based or rifamycin drugs. They always target the nuclear material, that is RNA and DNA. If they are sulfonamide types of drugs, they always target to bacterial enzymes. If you got the penicillin, just I discussed it right now, they always try to affect the cell wall, because you see the target, the cell wall is the target. If the polymyxin is there, then is the inner wall of the cell wall. And if your chlorophenicol, streptomycin, tetracycline, they attack on the bacterial ribosome. So these are the different targets present in the bacterial cell. This is very important. This is the amphotericin B. These are the life-saving drugs. And the amphotericin B is a polyene type of antibacterial, and which binds to irreversibly to ergosterol, that is another steroid, resulting in a disruption of a membrane integrity and untimely cell death as a result of disruption of the membrane integrity. So this is we are not going to discuss here mechanism, but we are telling simply this is amphotericin B, and this is the polyene-based antibiotic that irreversibly binds to the ergosterol and stop the membrane integrity. Now I'll discuss some of the most important drugs which are frequently being used to treat cancer. Cancer is a leading cause of death in Europe as well as in Western countries as well as in India. And in India, the cancer is increasing at alarming rate, and this is due to several factors, as the excessive use of tobacco, the environmental problem, unhygienic condition. So there are so many factors are responsible for the increasing of cancer in India. One of them is pollution, contamination of the water, that is, you are using a lot of heavy metal in the water. In spite of people are using different types of filter unit. Now this is the Paclitaxel Taxel. That is the brand name is a Taxol. The common name is a Taxol, and this is a treat different types of cancer. So now if you look at over here, this is the very complex molecule generated by the plant as a natural source and treat uh, uh, in, a, in a variety of cancer. Now, first time it was isolated in 1971 from a Pacific tree and approved for the treatment in 1993 after extensive screening. Now, this has got some side effects, but when the patient is suffering from the cancer, it can be given without any thinking of side effect. And this Taxol is a plant alkaloid, name is taxane, and it binds to tubule, and then this is the reason it is known as an anti-microtubule agent. It stop the tubule formation during the cell growth in the biological system. As I told you, the Taxol is useful for the variety of cancer. It prevents, to stop the growth of the cancerous cell, and it involves breast cancer, ovarian, lung, bladder, prostate, melanoma, esophagus, as well as other type of solid tumors. So now you can see here, it is widely used to stop the growth of cancerous cell. And in human, it generally more than 200 types of cancers are known. It is also used in Kaposi sarcoma treatment. Now, if you see here, nature is very, very valuable. However, we are not protecting our nature in a very significant way. Now, there are other compounds that are also isolated from the plant core, that is paclitaxel and docetaxel, and these are also isolated from the different species of the plants, and they also show anti-cancer properties. The mode of action of Taxol, paclitaxel, and docetaxel is same, that it binds to microtubule and stop the growth assembly, and finally leads to apoptosis of cell or blocking of BCL2 enzyme. So this is a very, very, very important drug to cure cancer growth. Now, as I told you in the beginning, that the fluoroquinolone types of drug, because if you look at here, you will find large number of applications are there in fluoroquinolones. Now, the fluoroquinolones are very simple, but they are synthetic molecules, unlike I discussed most of the natural products which are useful for the welfare of the human being. And they are different types of, if you look at here now, cephaloxime, moxifloxacin people are using nowadays, and then using ofloxacin. And if you go to market, you will find more than 100 types of different types of fluoroquinolone, which acts as an antibacterial agent. So basic skeleton is same. Now you look at here, benzene 1, and then you got benzene 2 contains the nitrogen, a heterocyclic compound. And now here there are two ketonic groups are there that are useful for the metal binding, that is the magnesium, and then they stopped growth of the bacteria in the human cell. But most of the drugs are now drug resistant. It means these drugs are not useful, or they are not useful for the treatment of bacterial infection. So in order to have more effective, now two drugs are being combined together and they are being frequently used for the treatment of different types of bacterial infections. So ciprofloxacin and norfloxacin are combined together and give rise, that is known as a combination drugs. So this is the two drugs mixed together and give rise single drug, and that is known as a synergetic effect, that is combines two drugs and gives rise antibacterial effect. So we are not going to discuss more detail into this fluoroquinolone analogs. Now, antifungal drugs, there are couple of drugs which are very useful, that is fluconazole, and analogs of fluconazole are strong, are very efficient antifungal reagent in the medicine, and they are used to prevent mycosis in athletic food, ringworm, candidiasis, serious systematic infection such as cryptococcal meningitis and others. So now you can see here, these are the common reagents. So when anybody is using finally different types of antifungal or antibacterial, then you can recall it what type of structure are in the drugs available. Now, these are the again different types of alkaloids. They were also isolated from the marine product, and they are also useful as an anti-cancer because they stop the metatic and microtubule formation in the cell. So they are also useful for the stop of cancerous growth. So these are the compounds. The mechanism of action of vinca alkaloid is to arrest dividing cell in metaphase by binding tubulin and preventing its polymerization into microtubules. So they are anti-microtubule agents that stop the growth of the cell, that is carcinogenic cell in the body. In the body. So these are another type of compound which are useful and binds to topoisomerase 2 and stop the supercoiling of DNA and finally breaks the DNA. That is, you know, the DNA is double stranded. If something fit between two strands, stop the growth of the different types of topoisomerase enzyme. So these are very, so you now can see here, there are different types of natural and synthetic compounds which are useful for the benefits of for the human being. Now you can look at here again. I'll stop after this slide. I'll stop with my talk because it's a long time. Now here, now you look at here, camptothecin and inotaxin and 5-fluorouracil. 5-fluorouracil, you must have heard the name of 5-fluorouracil. That is anti-cancer. It is being used for the treatment of cancer in certain cancer. But these are the compounds. They are strong topoisomerase 1 inhibitor, and they binds to DNA, and after binding they stop the for the ligation of the DNA, and once the ligation is stopped, then there is no growth of the cancerous cell, and that results the apoptosis. So this is a very common so mechanism of all these are almost same. They are topoisomerase 1 inhibitor. Now this is the last in cancer slide. Cisplatin. Now, cisplatin is frequently being used for the treatment of the cancer. It binds to double-stranded DNA and stop the growth of the cancerous genome in the cell. But on the other side, cisplatin is very toxic, and it has got several side effects. So now, whatever I have discussed, anti-cancer drugs, all cancer drugs fall under the chemotherapy, and all compounds has got toxic effect or side effect. So this is the reason when the person, a cancer patient, undergoes chemotherapy, it loses the hair, different types of other side effects develops in the body. So if the cancer is detected in the early stage of the infection, there is a possibility of curing the cancer. However, if it is discovered at the later stage, the possibility of the survival of the cancer patient is negligible. Only it can prolong the death rate. Instead of 6 months, 1 year, it can be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and 6 years. But after 6 years, the survival is almost nil. So I will skip some of the slides which I wanted to discuss you here. I will show 2 slides from my research work and then I will stop it. So as I told you in the beginning, my research group is mainly working on the design and synthesis of anti-malarial compounds, and this malaria parasite was discovered by Levron, and for this discovery he got a Nobel Prize in 1907. Now, these are the time frame of the discovery of different types of anti-malarial drug. The first, quinine, which I told you in the very beginning, this was isolated from the bark of cinchona tree. And the second and third compound are synthetic compound, and it was developed in 1934 and 52. And the fourth compound is artemisinin, that is isolated from the Artemisia annua, that is from the Chinese herb. And then again, the next compound is mefloquine, which was prepared chemically or synthetically in 1974. So now you can see here, this is the combination of natural product and synthetic compound for the treatment of malaria infection. So as I told you, this was isolated from cinchona tree, and this was the scientist UU2 isolated artemisinin from the Artemisia annua, and for this discovery, she got a Nobel Prize in 2015 for the discovery of artemisinin. Now, this artemisinin is treated as a wonderful drug or magic drug because it cures all forms of malaria parasite. However, there are recent several reports which show that this drug has also developed a drug resistance, particularly at Thailand and Cambodia border. It means in the future there will be no drug available to cure malaria parasite, that is a mosquito, for a single drug. Because of time constant, I will move to quickly 1-2 slides more, and then I will stop it. But what are the drawbacks if you, I'm telling you this is a magic drug, then what is the point of discovery of new class of drug? The class of, because the reason is it has got very high cost because it has to be isolated from the plant source, and if you want to synthesize, the synthesis is very complicated. So overall, the cost will be high. And drugs are popular. Yeah, drugs can be used in a very high quantity or in more in a cost-effective manner. If a drug is cheap, it can be used poorest of the poor people. If the cost is very high, most of the people will not be able to use the drug. So drawback of the artemisinin is the high cost, low of poor bioavailability, and drug resistance. So because of this reason, the people started looking synthesis of a new class of antimalarial compound, that is the triaxane. Now there are 3 oxygen, and if you look at here, there are 3 oxygen in the one ring. But disadvantage with this type of compounds are multi-acceptances, low yield, and less shelf-life. Keeping these things in mind, the scientists moved to the new class of the new generation of the compound with 4 oxygen in a ring and named as a tetraoxygen. And advantage with this approach is single step synthesis, moderate good yield, higher shelf life, and stable at the room temperature. So extensive research is going on design and synthesis of a tetraoxygen type of compound for the killing of the all types of malarial infection. So I'm going to skip some of the slide. I'll show. So there are 4 types of species, malarial species, which causes malaria in the human: the Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium vivae, and Plasmodium malariae. Out of these 4 species, the first species is very lethal, that is Plasmodium falciparum, and if someone encountered with the falciparum, and if there is no proper medicine, the patient will die. And but however, this strain is not very available in India, or this type of infection is not very common in India. It is mainly found in sub-Saharan countries, that is African countries. In India, Plasmodium vivax is very common, and it can be is recovered by using a mild few drugs. Common symptoms are headache, fatigue, abdominal discomfort, muscle and joint pain, fever, chills, perspiration, and vomiting. So these are the common symptoms if someone encountered with the malaria infection. Now, one can ask the question. Now, I was thinking to add few slides on COVID-19, but then I decided to skip it because till now there is no drug, and we are just speculating this drug will work and this drug will work. But more strange thing is there. Malaria is known for ages, for centuries, and there is no vaccine available till now. In spite of that, developed and underdeveloped countries had expended billions and billions of dollars. Now, if you look this malaria life cycle is divided into 2 parts. That is a sexual life cycle, which completed in the mosquito, and asexual life cycle, which is completed in the human being, that is the below part adult. Now there is no vaccine is available which can cure, which can stop the malaria parasite in the both phases, that is the mosquito phase and human phase. And this is the reason there is no vaccine available for the malaria infection, and we are mainly depend upon a small molecule, that is artemisinin, chloroquine, mefloquine, and so on. This is the simple representation of how does the malaria parasite work in the body. Now, malaria parasite has got two main enzymes, that is cysteine protease and plasmapsin protease. And these enzymes are available in a uh, food vacuole of the parasite. So when it sucks the blood goes to the food vacuole of the parasite, and these enzymes cleave into different types of amino acids, and the different amino acids are a food vacuole of the different amino acids are the food for the parasite. Now, how does it possible? Now, if you look at the enzyme, this is second line. Enzyme has got the two amino acids, that is the histidine and cysteine. These two enzymes are present on the active site of the malaria parasite, that is cysteine protease enzyme. Now, the cysteine has got the nucleophilic character, and it attacks on the carbonyl carbon of the peptide bond. And then once it attacks on the carbonyl carbon of the peptide bond, the NC bond breaks and gives rise different amino acids. And these amino acids are food for the survival, are essential for the survival of the parasite. So if you find any drug which can stop the attack of the cysteine nucleophile on the carbonyl carbon, then you can stop the generation of the amino acid. Once you stop the generation of the amino acid, which acts as a food, the parasite will die because of the starve. So we are not going to discuss our work more so earlier we have worked on the chalcone, different types of chalcone, and these chalcones attack on the enzyme and give rise asymmetric, that is irreversible binding. And once this is the irreversible binding, then the sulfur is no longer available to attack on the carbonyl carbon, and this sulfur is there is no attack on the carbonyl carbon, and there is no generation of different types of amino acids, and amino acids are not generated, then the malaria parasite starve and die. So this was my initial work after joining to Delhi University. Now I have moved on this type of tetraoxane synthesis. I'm not going to more detail on this one. Now, if you look at the left side, the artemisinin has got activity 5.32 nanomolar, and our design compound are comparable or less than the reported artemisinin, that is 5.52, 5.68, 5.71, and 4.12 nanomolar activity in a vitro state. We have screened this compound in vivo also. We have got long patent in 2016. Now it has come into the and the online. Now, interesting results are seen when you compare when we compare this tetraoxane with the known compound. Here you can look at here. There are two types of strains are there. The first one is 3D7, that is the chloroquine resistant, and sorry, chloroquine sensitive, and then D2 is chloroquine is resistant. Now, if you look at over here, now in case of resistant, our compounds are much more active as compared to the chloroquine. Now, if you look at here, chloroquine has got 253 nanomolar in a resistant, while our compound shows 43, 19, 7.46, 8, and 11, 7.1, 1.5, except only two compounds, that is the first one and the fifth one. So now you can see here, most of our compounds are working very well in a multi-drug resistant state, that is D2. So using this, we have made a large number of library, and now look at over here. This has got artemisinin 5.32 nanomolar, and our compound shows 4.9 nanomolar. It means our compounds are our compound is showing much better anti-malarial activity as compared to the standard artemisinin. Now, so if you want to work on the chemistry, the characterization part is very important. Now, the compound should be characterized by proton NMR, C13, mass, as well as, if possible, by crystallography. Now, if you get the crystal structure of the final product, the whole story will be crystal clear. Nobody can question here. So, in order to have more authentic data, we got the crystal structure of the sum of the title compound. Now you look it over here, you can see here there are 4 oxygens are there. Now here 1, 2, 3, 4 oxygens are there. The sulfur oxygens are there. The sulfur oxygens are there. It shows the synthesis and design was perfect and activity is also perfect. So there are different types of compound. We are not going to discuss those compounds. We'll skip this macromolecule because it is time constant, because we have got taken more time. I'll go very little. Now you see the left side, this is this cyclosporine. This is the cyclic peptide. Now this is cyclic peptide is used as an immunosuppressant, particularly during the organ transplant. This is very life-saving drug, and that is also peptide based. The last one is vancomycin, that is also a peptide-based drug, and used to treat several types of bacterial infection. And this is also a life-saving drug because this is usually given as a last arsenal when other drugs are not working in the patient. And the last one is oxytocin. This is also the peptide based. It was strictly assessed and chemically synthesized, and it is used for the lactation of the woman as well as in animal. So if there is after delivery, sometime mother does not have milk, so that time they give this oxytocin for the release of milk, and in the animal they give a injection for the release of more and more milk from the now this is the last slide. Now you can see here, actually last time I go talk on the asymmetric synthesis, and now I got this picture from the one of the slides available on the website. Now you see that this is the perfect picture of asymmetric symmetry nature. You see exactly photocopy of PR, it's a mirror image of each other. And these are some of my this 2021 publication. Very recently, I have not added all. We have added only 2021. And these are some of the members which I have not updated. These are old. Some of the people are here. Some of the people have already left, and need to be updated soon. And funding, the research is there personal interest. So if there is no fund, there will be no research. So I was lucky to get some fund from the different funding agency, and then it was Ministry of Delhi, who is providing me bread and butter, as well as all facilities to carry out the research in the department. It also gives some time seed money, some funding for the buying chemicals and other things. And then UPERI, that is UK India Education and Research Initiative Program. So malaria research is performed from the fund provided by India UK Education and Research Initiative. UGC also gave me a lot of fund, and Calcone work was done from the UGC fund, and Department of Science Technology, and some fund I got from a private company that is Nano Micro UK for the bacterial work. And the last but not least, again I thanks Dr. Rajiv Agrawal, Principal Deshbandhu College, Dr. Devanandan, teacher in charge, Dr. Mahesh Sharma, and other team members and organizer of Resonance Society for inviting me to give talk. Thank you very much. If you have any question, I'm ready to answer.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing that valuable knowledge with us. Although due to some network issues, that was of course not anybody's fault. There was some time delay, but yet, sir, your lecture was really captivating and knowledgeable. Now, I would like to request Madam Dr. Archana Malhotra, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry, Deshbandhu College, to please conduct the question and answer session of the event.
Dr. Archana, just a request. Yeah, please keep it brief and direct as we are waiting for another event to start.
Yes, certainly, ma'am. Certainly. That's also the point in my mind, ma'am. Certainly, I'll do that. Thank you, Anushka. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy auspicious occasion to all. Thank you, Professor Avasthi, for such a wonderful lecture and so relevant in current scenario of COVID. Now our session is open for question answer, and as ma'am just directed, we have a lot of questions in the chat box, but I'm afraid I'm just going to take a couple of questions only. So I can see the question, like, one somebody is Arya Palak is mentioning the lecture is very informative and it's easy to understand, as we are familiar with many of the topics, sir. Sir, it is a bank of so many qualities you have put up in your lecture. So there's so many questions, sir, I can see. I would like to take a question from Atulya. Yeah, Atulya is there. Said, sir, there's a one student who asked a question, Dibya Jyoti, and he asked, sir, is there any drug which can be synthesized from natural product which can be used for killing harmful cancerous cell in human body and having very negligible side effect? If not, is there any possibility in near future?
If you look at literature, you will find the 60. Hello, can
sir,
you hear me?
Sir, may I request you to stop sharing your screen, sir?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir. So can you stop sharing your screen, please?
Yes, yes. Actually, net is the problem here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, you are audible, sir.
Hello?
You are audible.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We can.
Okay. So if you look the literature, you will find the 60% of the microbial drugs are synthesized based on the scaffold of natural products. First thing. And second thing, some of the drugs, anti-cancer drugs, were also synthesized taking into account of the natural product scaffold, but none of the particularly cancer drugs are devoid of the side effects. So some drugs has got little side effects and some drugs has got more side effects. And this is the reason when the patient undergoes chemotherapy, you can observe a lot of side effects because it is cancer patient gets a combination of large number of drugs.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I'll just take one last and another question. This is the question by Dr. Ashwani. He wants to know now, nowadays it's easy to find drugs molecule by using computational studies, but in old, how researcher did this? Sir, can you elaborate?
No, till now there is no drug came out from the computational study. Till now, the only thing is you can do docking experiment with the help of computer and design the molecule. The only thing is when you are doing computational, you may need to make only couple of compounds, maybe 10, 20, 50 compounds. If you are doing randomly, you can make 100, 200 compounds. But till now, there is no drug came out from the computational study for any disease.
Thank you, sir. As I just mentioned, there are many questions in the chat box, but due to time constraint, we are not able to take the questions. But I mean, we honestly feel your lecture was full of knowledge.